Hello. So I'm thinking as I go here. I haven't prepared or anything. There's something that's just occurred to me and I want to discuss it. So what's occurred to me is I don't understand how life can exist, how humanity can exist. It doesn't seem possible. And the basic thing that's occurred to me is that a baby, when it's born, needs to have parents for a beginning. So it can't be born without having parents. So the parents have to exist first. So the question is obviously, where did the parents come from? So if we leave that aside for a minute and think that humanity didn't come into existence with the baby being born, it progressed from other forms of life first. So somehow these other forms of life existed first, and then they eventually developed into forms that could then produce a baby. Now, I suppose that makes a bit more sense, but it still raises a fundamental question of where they came from in the first place. So, in other words, it's the beginning of life that's the most obvious problem. Now, obviously, this is why belief in God exists, an eternal being who decided to create humanity. But it doesn't explain so many things, like, for example, if it is an eternal being we're dealing with, this being could have created humanity at any point in time. So the question is, why now? Are we the first incarnation of humanity to exist, or have other humanities existed before and in other places maybe? So there's always a question of why now if it comes to an eternal being. Because obviously the idea of an eternity doesn't make sense. It's very hard to draw any conclusions on how we exist and why we exist coming from the existence of an eternal being. It's just mind bending to imagine this. So leaving God aside for a second, how could we exist without an eternal God? How is it possible for humanity to exist when there is no previous humanity to lead to the current humanity? In other words, a human being doesn't have parents, and yet the human being exists somehow. So I don't believe this question has been answered anywhere. There's simply no explanation of how a human being can exist without parents. So it's very frustrating, and I'd be interested to know if there is some explanation of how humans can exist without parents.